everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to A Critical Look. This is the 13th installment and our second one going through the Orville.
I think, you know what? I think you should put this under like a subcategory.
We're going to come up with a subcategory at some point.
First 4 episodes.
We're going to get to this proper
you should
branding.
be a hype man on one of the tracks.
In the meantime, we're just going to put it here for now because we were trying to grow the playlist, YouTubes and stuff, and then in the future we'll organize better. For now, what's important is this is the second one with the Orville.
It's so weird. I feel like we just did this.
Yeah.
We did just do this.
It's been very little time.
We even announced it on the last podcast. You made that
If
clear.
anyone actually watched
we do other podcasts?
Anyway.
Oh, my Jesus.
So what's up? My name's HSR.
Yo, what's good? My name's Chris Chrome.
What up? It's Syd.
And this is the Orville Season 1, Episode 2. I don't know the name of this one. I don't know. Come on, Chris.
You're so on
point. Damn.
You got this.
I didn't write it down.
No, I didn't catch the little.
All right, it was
fine.
called Season 1, Episode 2.
That's right. And then you'll see the name somewhere in the description, along with our contact information and fun shit.
Because we don't feel like looking it up right now.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not that relevant to the conversation. What is relevant is that Bortus lays eggs. That's what's relevant.
Before we hit that, don't forget to hit us up in the comments below.
No, that's the very start.
That's the very. Oh, it is the very start.
The very first scene is the episode.
Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, we forgot about that. Spoilers. Don't even watch this if you haven't seen it. We're gonna ruin the whole plot.
Sorry.
And that's true. So it starts off with Seth MacFarlane's captain character and Bortus, and they're having, I'm going to have to request a leave of absence. And then he's just like, how come? And he's
it's the most serious.
Because everything Bortus says is in this voice. I have just laid an egg. With this, what? You lay eggs? I've always wondered how they reproduce and shit. Well, I'm going to need to. You're gonna have to like sit on it.
So for context, if you haven't seen either our last episode or the first episode of the Orville, Bortus is from a species that is exclusively
gender.
male,
single gender, and they're very serious and flat.
So like, how do they reproduce? I laid an egg,
and then he has to sit on the egg for 21 days.
Right.
And that's basically the first scene of this episode. And, okay, look. Then he goes a little bit further. Like, he makes some dumb jokes like, so if you have a second one, don't forget to make me an omelet.
Right. Seth MacFarlane.
And then he's just like, that's not funny.
What is this speed up? We're going to overpass this joke thing.
That's like, he's like, I'm bored. We just recorded the last one.
No, but that's not what I'm... Okay, so Seth MacFarlane is Seth MacFarlane.
That's what happens when you try to speed shit up.
Basically, it's just Seth MacFarlane being a cliche of himself.
Fair.
Also, I still don't know his character's name. I'm just going to call him Seth MacFarlane.
Now, I just want to point out...
I didn't hear that.
Mercer.
Seth MacFarlane?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Peter?
So one interesting thing about this, and I'm not trying to be offensive with this, but it kind of reminded me of like the first time I tried to have a conversation about sex with a gay person. And it was just as awkward and clumsy and shit. And I really kind of felt... Yeah, because I mean...
apparently Holden doesn't 2017.
No, I mean,
Clearly
this is
not.
way back when. This was like when I was like way young, like 19, 20, like a kid. Because I didn't know any when I was growing
Holden
up.
is over 100 years old.
Relax yourselves, fuck. Man. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting because of the awkwardness. And I bet that kind of thing probably happens to many people. And just the awkwardness of how taboo these types of conversations still are.
Fair, I'll give you that.
I think where I was trying to go with this...
And again, it just showcases Seth MacFarlane's talent to like put these normal human everyday conversations in these strange, outlandish situations.
But I like how even in this scene, like you were explaining, I like how real it acted out. Like that's how. I mean, me personally, it's just a question. I want to know information. I ask questions like that, and I just expect answers.
And you would make a joke, right? Being like,
well, I wouldn't make
person.
no. In context of like, if we were talking about the gay thing, or even asking this alien how he lays eggs, I'd be like, so how do you do it? I wouldn't. For me personally, I wouldn't feel awkward. I don't know.
But the fact is,
but like most people would feel awkward.
There is a certain degree of social stigma attached to it,
with you.
And it's part of the way Bortus responded was in line with the response I got, teaching me this was a stupid thing to have a conversation about. The way I had approached it was shock and wonder. That is not appropriate. I wasn't trying to say it was a good thing. I'm just saying I was an idiot once upon a time. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, so then we cut to like the bridge after that. He grants him the leave. Yeah, fine. You and Clytus, that's his partner, can go have your kid. So then they cut to
I like him a lot, by the way.
I do too.
He's like the nagging wife.
Yeah. It's really
but
good.
like really stone-faced and male, just like it's
and just
good.
as flat and monotone. We'll get there. That comes up.
He's okay. Anyway,
It's the next
what happens
episode.
next?
So we
That's
cut.
what I'm saying. Y'all are jumping into the next episode.
Yeah,
This isn't even in this
relax,
one
we
yet.
just did that, Chris. So we're gonna cut to the scene where they're now back on the bridge and they're just discussing. I always wondered how we laid eggs, and again, another just casual conversation showing
like
that
work talk.
but the attitude on this bridge, right, is so unlike Star Trek. Like on Star Trek, everyone sits there quietly, pristine, until something happens where they have to do whatever. You never see them having these kinds of casual conversations on the bridge. It would never happen. And yet, here it really is in the most mundane, whatever. Anyway, so it was really fun. I enjoyed that. And then they find out that there's a transport that's been attacked by the krill, and they go investigate it. Yep. And then they're like, oh, Margaret. Then
Jeffrey Tambor as Seth MacFarlane's father.
So then
that's the dude, eh?
Yeah.
So then they have a call.
Isn't he?
He's the dad on Arrested Development.
And he's on
an Archer. Yes.
Community.
It's Arrested Development.
Isn't he the dude? Isn't he the grandfather in Community?
No, it's
he
Arrested
passed.
Development.
No, he's not. He's not.
That's Chevy Chase. This is Arrested Development that he plays the grandfather on.
Dad. And
Dad.
grandfather.
Yeah, technically.
George Sr.
You're right, and I'm right. So that works.
So back to Arrested Development.
So basically, they connect to the place that has the distress call, and it turns out that his parents are randomly there, and they just have like the most regular conversation with your parents in front of the whole bridge. Oh, is Kelly there?
Yeah,
and
they see his ex-wife. They're like, oh, how was the cheating?
Yeah, stuff like that. And then like it moves right into, did you get your colon checked yet? And he's just like,
that's like
and then his dad's like, I had this thing I can't pronounce and it's very uncomfortable and you might have it too. He's just like,
it's like your doddering old dad who's just like having a Sunday conversation with you.
But
it's
like your
space.
whole bridge crew is listening to this.
Yeah.
And then they get so awkwarded out and embarrassed together that they just like, okay, we're gonna go over there right away. Okay, bye. Alara, you're in charge.
And, like, we've all had that conversation with our parents, right? Where, like, our friends are there and whatever, and they just bring up the shit that you don't want to talk about in front of your friends, but they're just going to do it because
they're your parents.
Parents.
They're your parents.
That's probably, they're going to, like, leave after and be like, props,
parents
we did
just
that
don't
shit.
understand.
And then what's key about that scene, too, is just that they put Alara in charge. She was 23, with zero command experience.
But she's the next one in charge.
Because of the chain of command, how it's structured. So Bortus is indisposed doing his egg laying.
Yeah.
And then
the other two are gone parenting.
To do this. So she ends up in charge. She freaks out like, I don't want to do it. And then they head off to the ship. And it turns out that, poof, something happens and they disappear.
And again, with her, you really feel that, like, in over her head, first time in charge, like,
which
what am I doing?
Made me feel awkward.
That was the point.
But it made you feel, right?
It made me feel awkward, and I get that. But this entire and throughout this episode, you're gonna hear me say it a lot. It made me cringe. There's a lot of cringe the way she approached things, the way I think
like. Do you cringe in the same kind of way where you like if you're watching The Office?
I think it's because I just got out. No, I'll be honest with you. I think it's because I just got out of that phase. Okay. Like that whole like kind of seeing how she's reacting. I'm kind of just like.
So what you're saying is
like it's real.
It was
it's really
so
real.
well
it's real.
done
Like,
that it connected to you close to home.
I'm not saying it in a bad way. I guess for me, my experience is different, but it's not a bad thing. It's just it was.
So
a
if
little...
you're between the ages of like 19 and 24, and like you've just gotten your first like in charge position, maybe don't watch this yet because you're gonna feel the feels. You know.
That's what Chris is saying. There's another word for that we won't use at this moment. Relax. It's okay.
What?
We're relaxing.
So then I forgot to say, while they're in the shuttle heading over, they had this conversation where apparently his mother called her a bitch 47 times in one conversation. And then they're just discussing, like, she's trying to be like, imagine, it could have been a good thing. And he's like, nope, it would have been terrible. And then they end up getting there and they zip off to wherever they zip off to. And then back on the ship,
everybody starts panicking.
kind of like freaking out.
And does the first thing she thinks of, which is, I'm going to go bother the captain that's laying an egg.
Yeah, so she runs over and he walks in and he just doesn't even knock or anything, he just bursts in.
Well, wait, what's the first decision she's trying to make?
Nothing. She panics.
She panics. Panic.
Yeah.
All right. Then she goes
like
to
they're all
asking, to see the doctor.
Asking her.
No, she doesn't go to the doctor. First, she runs to Bortus.
She first runs to the captain,
and then she goes to Bortus. He's not the captain. So she runs to Bortus, and Bortus is naked on an egg.
And he's like, "Don't you knock."
Yeah. And then she's like, "You have to be in charge. They're gone." He's like, "Who is in command?" I am. I am not going to jeopardize the life of my child. You are going to have to do it. And it's like...
Naked on an egg.
Yeah.
A giant egg.
And then,
in a nest.
And then he's just like, go away.
It's
Like a little nest.
Well, it's not a nest. It's like a towel.
Okay,
it's
fine.
literally like a big blanket wrapped up, and he's just sitting on it, and the egg is there, and he's like...
Yeah, and then she leaves. She takes a shot. Then she walks out the room. I'm not going to puke. I'm not going to puke. And then she pukes, and random person walks by.
And then she has my favorite reaction to him ever. She like calms down and then just kind of goes, "Go away now."
Yeah, like
It's amazing.
I'm in charge. I can do this, right? And then they hold on.
She comes back.
Oh,
okay,
and then
she comes back.
she gets to the
starts,
bridge.
She starts
and then-
giving orders.
And then she's like, okay, first we need to get to that buoy out there, and we need to pull it in and make sure it's good. And then robot guy's like, we should not do that. It's a bad idea. We don't know anything. She ignores him. She goes through with it anyway. It blows up and nearly takes out the ship. Yeah,
Which,
that happens.
Here, I wanted to touch upon. This is where it started getting awkward in the whole like wanting to be accepted thing. Like,
Yep. But it gets more.
But it makes sense, right? Because the first time you're in charge, someone is like to her undermining her authority, even though he's right logically. Like, don't do this. She's like,
Right.
no. I said we're gonna do this. This is what I
Right.
think we should do. We're doing it,
Right.
and then it blows
Now-
up in her face. Like we've all been there, right?
And
This
in
is
this
where
case,
I'm a little.
it literally
blows up in her.
Right. But this is where I was kind of a little bit like, woman, you can throw people across the fucking universe.
But
Like
we're talking about
I
command
don't-
decisions where you're It's the difference between managing a situation where you have to decide at the end of the day.
Right. There's a lot of
and
growth
showing up
in this episode.
But the difference between being in charge and making the decisions and showing up and participating.
And the other thing is, she's still, and you see it very much, is she's stuck between like wanting them to respect her and wanting them to like her.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right? She wants them to be her friends, but she also has to be in charge of them. So like, how do you
And
do
honestly,
that the first time?
Right.
in your first, like any kind of power position, any first time, it's exactly what you go through. I went
Yeah.
through that. I was a trainer for a while, and in my first year of it was a lot more about, I want to be buddies with y'all. And by the end of it, you learn how to, like, this is professional, and you distance yourself from these people. But in the beginning, everybody just wants to be homies with everybody at the same time as maintain that power, and you just can't.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to establish. It's really good. I didn't even consider that before we had this conversation.
Fair enough.
Anyway, then she goes to the doctor and she's like freaking out, and then she's like, listen, you know, shit's gonna be all right. Nothing really that bad happened. It's all good in the hood, yo. So then we cut back, and the captain dude and Kelly are now in like their New York apartment from back in the day.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, whatever. And then the Kermit the Frog is there. And we forgot this
Oh
because
my
the Kermit the
God.
Frog was his hero from like way back on his like desk. He's like, that's my role model.
He's a leader from Earth.
He's
Which,
like, I look up to him. He
But
was
I
like,
think he was
had
playing. I felt like he was playing more upon the leader side of like the memes that are happening now, and the way that like people have contextualized.
I never considered that.
Because to
But
tell you the truth,
this is also again, the Muppets are a mainstay for Seth MacFarlane.
yes,
Like,
I understand, and I do understand that Sesame Street and the Muppets and all this shit have been like very, very iconic. But I don't feel that Kermit the Frog was ever like a leader in Sesame Street, or like a leader.
No, that's
in
the joke,
Muppets,
right? It's like, how do you
know?
explain this? He's like the main Muppet.
But that's what I'm saying. So
yeah.
for somebody like me who kind of grew up with like memes and everything, there's a lot of Kermit the Frog that
And
people
you know
use
what?
to use as a leading
I see where
quote.
Chris is coming from. And if you were
there's
to do like
there's
an
article about
You
Pepe
guys
the
are-
Frog.
Pepe Le Pew?
No, Pepe the Frog.
I don't
There's
think we
a meme
should.
about-
Okay, Pepe is whatever. But I think where you're going with this is if you were to just to take it one step further, if you were to study this period of history from his chair, you would consider Kermit to be a
Dude, it's
leader of thought ideas.
2418. If you think about it, it's
That's what I'm saying.
2418. Like,
So for him, this is like a history book, and I think it's a commentary that we have put Kermit the Frog into a position in our canon of life that he might be
I mean,
perceived
if you see Kermit
this
the
way,
Frog sipping tea, you don't know where it comes from.
right? Anyway, so then we see Kermit the Frog's in this apartment, and they're there, and they have this like lovely rekindling thing, and this I think is really an important.
There's a chocolate cake brownie
Yes.
involved.
See, this is like I think
Looks
it's a really
delicious.
Oh
interesting.
wait. Yes, the brownie was when they were on her way.
They got a weed brownie on the shuttle.
Yeah, they got a cannabis brownie on the way.
But there was
to
a
the-
piece
to
of
the
chocolate
mother.
But then they
cake.
make a piece of chocolate
Yes,
cake.
and
That's
this-
that.
That's in the apartment. Yeah,
That's what
Yeah.
we're talking about
Yeah.
now, Chris. Keep up.
I wanted to state the edible.
Whatever. That's so they don't even use it. So it's
Legalize
completely.
it.
So yes, we. So they basically, they're in there and they have this really like rekindling conversation. Now, I don't know if you've ever broken up with somebody and then gotten and met up with them at a later point in life, and you had that nice, nuanced, beautiful conversation, and everything's romantic and lovely, and you maybe want to consider another chance. That's kind of what they're selling here.
I didn't like that. I didn't like... No, wait. I didn't like... I feel
too
like too
realistic?
blunt. No. I like how they did it. I
home?
like how they presented it. I don't feel like this episode should be revolved around this right now. I feel like they're touching upon really onto the marriage right now.
But that's the thing.
I'm just kind of like...
That's the Star Trek.
It feels like from the onset of this show, like this is going to be a main plot point,
but
at least
Chris,
throughout this season.
I get that,
Chris,
but
you
to
have
focus so much on their relationship right now,
it's
I feel
absolutely
like...
important. Because what you're doing here, let me explain it. So you're talking about a show that doesn't actually give a shit about what's happening in the actual story, like Syd was explaining in the last episode. Basically, the point of the show is to discuss the ethics. And everything else is around that. So you have the character dynamic between these two people who have to functionally work together as ex-people. Mm-hmm. In the same way, like maybe if you're divorced parents with a shared common kid, you have to learn how to functionally... And so it's setting
they're
this
trying
kind of...
to setting tones
which
for,
is
for
very
personal
Star Trek.
lives. And
but then everyone else is going to have their own little relationships building. And you have to keep in mind that was the relationship that was established in episode 1. And to that end, we are now establishing Alara's relationship with the helmsman and things like that, where they're going to... And it's kind of going to take time for everything to flow into place.
And even at that, just in terms of character development over the season, it makes sense to have who you've established as the two commanding officers, and that they have this history together. It makes sense to explore that a little bit more with every episode.
And the way but what really makes it brilliant is it's hitting you on so many levels at once, because that's like one side of it. And then while they're sitting there and they wake up and they're eating breakfast, or no, the breakfast comes later, then they find out they're in a zoo.
Yeah, he wakes up and there's this little kid kind of going, "Wake up! I want you to do interesting things," like you would do to an animal in a zoo, right?
Yeah.
And then it kind of like I don't know if we really know about the zoo yet. We'll just talk about the zoo. So then they meet all their neighbors and find out they're in a zoo, and holy shit, these little red people see them as...
If you've seen like Thor 2 or like Guardians of the Galaxy, it's basically the collector's glass collection of just like all these different aliens from different parts of the universe.
Yes.
Which is, and then it has all of them. They reference every species that is in the collection that is like that you've encountered, and you
there's
hear
this
about
little kid who's been there for like 8 months, and it's all
like,
sad.
And it's like cliche. And then you go back to the ship, right?
But hang on, just to touch, and they say that like this is their natural environment, right? So if they settle them in the environment they'll be most comfortable.
Exactly.
In
you know
this
what was
apartment.
interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up, because while they're introducing the other people, even the little kid, everyone is by themselves.
And
they're
then
solo,
these
and
two
then
together.
they got these two together, and it was cool how like. And this is where with this conversation we're talking about the relationships and the realness of it. A lot of people display their relationship, and this is where I started getting into it, because oh my god, I'm gonna say this and it's gonna be
just
confusing.
Say it.
The aliens. Do you have the aliens' names? Does anybody have the aliens' names?
No, just run.
The aliens
Details
are
that
displaying
important.
a relationship like people display relationships on Facebook.
There is that, and the other cool thing is, so what these aliens are, right? Is they take lower life forms and they put them in cages.
Yeah, because from their perception, these are just like a tiger.
But so from their perception, humans are only in their natural environment when they're in a relationship.
No, actually, one of the things that got said was they got lucky. They don't normally get 2 for 1. I think it was just a freak accident that they both happened to go at the same time. I don't think that it was intentional.
Well, then everything I've said is wrong.
And then why is something...
Well, they were his parents. They were his parents.
Well, that has
they used his parents to lure them in.
So
no,
what
they
I'm
used
saying
his
is,
parents
so what
to
I'm
lure
saying
him
is
in. And
they scanned his brain, and everything is based off of their brains. So what I'm saying is the fact that 2 of them went into the shuttle, had it just been one in the shuttle, they would have just caught one of them. It was a trap, and then 2 of them happened to go this time.
It's a trap.
I digress. So then we go back to the ship where we find out that it's this particular species. They tell the equivalent of the Union, I think it's called. So then the Union's like, "No, you must come back. They're dead. We're gonna have to
That's what he goes. We don't go into that space because they'll fucking kidnap us and put us in cages.
I want to put some context here.
Oh, and then
the person speaking to this general is the 23-year-old captain, where And I like how they make his honest part, because at one point the 23-year-old captain is kind of standing up and like, but our captain, like the honor, we gotta go get him.
Rescue him.
And the general's like, look, you're a kid. I'm gonna let this slide that you are disobeying a direct order. And I'm kind of just there like, where is that fire right now to just kind of shut that adultery off? Why, like, where is that? Like, there are certain moves that I also feel like she should have done and just been like, we're going for it anyway.
Well, but that's it. This is her first time, right? So she's
right.
For her, she has to go to someone else higher up. Otherwise, she's afraid she'll fuck up and get fired.
And well, you have to report back in because it's just the procedure. But at the same time, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, you're in command. You're reporting to somebody always. You're not, like, in charge of everything. Mm-hmm. Even in that moment, these are all missions. These are all things that get dispatched.
And you see her kind of following the protocol of what she's been trained to do, because then she goes and the rest of the crew is like, let's go rescue them. And she doesn't sell out her superior officer, right? She says, no, we can't. This is the final decision. We're not going. And she gets paid for it.
Then she fires her...
Yeah, well, she
doesn't fire him.
She just, like, kicks him off. Basically. It was not Lamar, it was Malloy. She kicks Malloy out because he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then Lamar just does it. But previous to that, she had this little cute scene where it brings up the ageism issue, actually, which is another subplot in this that gets explored in a minor thing. This happened before this scene. I don't remember exactly when, but basically they need to divert power from engineering to the next thing for something or another.
Oh,
and
yes.
The old engineering guy's like, you can't do that. You're a kid. And she's like, you know what? I'm the ranking officer, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, yeah, we like you more. Which is important because she had finally started to earn their like and respect. And then she makes this decision which has everybody turn on her. Anyway.
But I feel like...
Then we go back to the apartment.
I feel like a little bit they started liking her because she finally agreed to do what they wanted to do.
Well, it's because
even though it is the right thing to do.
It's not about what they wanted to do, Chris.
But it still feels like she did it out of... Well, they did. They all were like...
It's not about the right thing to do. It's about acting like a captain they can follow versus acting like an insecure child.
Because that's the thing. They do show that she wants to go get him too, right? But she's been shut down by her commanding officer, so she then in turn shuts them down. It's the same reaction, right?
And she gives him the same reaction. You have to look at it, right? The point is she's never been in command, and there's nobody above her in the food chain, and if she fucks up, everybody dies. As much as you want to judge her for not knowing what to do, none of us would do better with no command experience. You're supposed to be there, take command overnight on a this is like very early for her. She's probably, normally Bortis is in the chair. So you have to really contextualize how this is the worst case scenario, etc. Anyway, so then we go back to the apartment place, and they are now not happy. It's the morning. They ching, ching, ching with the cereal. They have arguments and stuff. And you just get the whole context of, oh, yeah, this is the other shoe is dropped. Our relationship was kind of bad after all.
You kind of watch their relationship fall apart over the span of these 2 nights that they're there or whatever.
And it was like, damn. And it was pretty, it was just, I don't know. That's all I really took from that. It was just really worth noting. And then we go back.
Well, as they're fighting,
so then they
no. There's a bit of a jump. Hold on, because before they have the fight, you're right. It is a couple days that they're there because we have the whole there's the argument with the 23-year-old captain, and then the general. There's the whole argument where she says we're going back. We're not going to get the captain. Everybody hates on her.
We're gonna get there. We're at that point now, and then the next thing that's gonna happen. Is...
no, because then there's this whole thing where she has to go. She goes to talk to the doctor, and then there's the lunch scene.
The lunch scene is because Chris, that's where we are about to talk about.
I'm saying if we're bringing up the fact that they're about to have the argument, she shows up during the argument. She stops that argument.
You're right.
So that's what I'm trying to get to.
So before that happens, then they have...
she makes the order to go back to Earth. She tells Malloy that he's like on a timeout because
then she goes and talks.
To the doctor, and they have this little heartfelt conversation.
Hang on. When she goes to talk to the doctor, is that the moment where you see the doctor in the blob for the first time?
Yeah,
so I really appreciate that moment.
That's the next scene.
That's the next
scene.
That's
after
the next episode.
It happens twice in the next episode? Because I feel like it happens twice.
No, the blob is in the first episode, and then there's no blob in this episode.
Yeah, there's no blob.
Just kidding. I haven't seen the 3rd episode yet.
Yeah, we've seen it. It's fine.
So,
just kidding. I've seen the
first
episode.
The doctor is basically down in the science lab or the health lab helping things. The girl captain comes. They have a conversation, and she basically explains to them that there is consequences you have to make when you're a captain or whatnot.
You have to make a choice, and the choice will have consequences. Now, you can choose to do what you think is right, or you can choose to follow orders, and either way, that's what's going to happen. But if you choose to do what you think is right and fuck up, that's a bad fuck up.
That's it. She makes it clear that on paper, she made the right decision, but now, morally, if you're following your heart, young Padawan, I mean Star Trek thing.
And so, but she makes it clear, if you pull it off, you're going to win, but if you don't, you're going to lose.
And then there's this, and then we cut to the next scene where and this is the funny part, and I like this. I like this little turning part in the girl's life, because she walks into the cafeteria. Everybody's kind of staring at her like, we don't trust you, we don't like you, nah. She walks up to the counter and orders. Hold on. This is an iconic part. The first time she took a shot and she puked, it was a single shot. This time she takes a shot, it's a double shot, and I really think that's iconic because symbolic. I feel like symbolic. That's what it is, symbolic, because of the fact that she's I feel like she's stronger now. She believes in herself more, that she can take 2 shots, that she can do this. And
anyway, but that's after.
It's a small little thing. I
and then she goes and sits down, and then they give her shit. Kalah say, you suck. And you know why? Because the captain would have done it for you. He would have taken that risk for your life.
I like that honesty. I like how they were being like, oh, permission to speak freely, and she's like, yes, like you don't have to talk to me like I'm your captain right now. Like I like how they broke that I'm not your captain. I'm here as a person.
That's
right
it.
now,
she goes in there and she's like, look, we've known each other.
But that's the point.
But
she established that when she kicked him out the room. And she established that distance.
Yeah, that was her
moment.
mistake.
Then she gets up and is like, we're going to go rescue them. And everybody just That was my least favorite scene, is the way everybody ran.
Yeah, it's a little cheesy.
And then they start talking about how they're going to do it. It turns out the robot guy is advanced enough to not be treated like cattle. So
he's more advanced than these little red aliens.
They leave robot guy and the captain chick. And then she looks at the doctor and goes, guess what? I have bad news for you. You're the ranking officer now, because whatever. And then she's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And then it was great. They go off. They go in. They interrupt that fight we were describing earlier.
Yeah.
Doctor's back on the ship treating her burn.
And then we find out that there's a zookeeper. They go in. They talk to the zookeeper. And he won't even acknowledge her when she's talking, right? And then they have this conversation. Oh, they're humans. They were stolen from somebody else. Too fucking bad.
But you know what? I like how they made the distinction between like superior and non-superior, because the girl there, she spoke like we're speaking.
But she also started it with a woof, to kind of make the point really clear.
Like she's a
We're
pet.
treating dogs like that,
woof.
you know?
Right.
Like.
Yeah, but there is that extra layer to really drive it home.
Did we talk about the zoo being 100 years old?
No.
Because I really like that.
Why don't we just
we only
throw
find out
that
that
into
there's a
the
monster
wrap-up?
there that's been for 31 years.
We
know about 100 years old.
Why don't we just we'll throw in the zoo talk at the end, because we kind of glossed over it, but I want to talk about
it's
the
just
zoo
there's this one little joke where they're like, oh, but humans do bad things too, and Seth MacFarlane's like, yeah, but on Earth, zoos have been obsolete for 100 years, so who are the real animals?
Oh, yes. And he starts banging on the window, yeah.
But they're not obsolete, so that's a social commentary thing. You go, Seth MacFarlane. Okay, continue with the episode. What happened next?
Because the zoo thing was important.
It was really fucking important.
But then the whole part where, like, if we're going to keep on the zoo thing, we're doing it now, it seems.
Fine, let's go.
So basically, the entire zoo plot is basically saying, how dare you make the distinction of what should be caged or not?
Right.
How dare you apply your superiority to us humans in this world of animal talks and all that? Food for thought and all, because what if you meet an alien species that considers you to be the tiger in the cage?
What? Seth MacFarlane made you think?
Very good, Seth. Very, very good. So then we're back in the office, and then they try to use the idea that they're diseased to get them to be like, let me take them off your hands. So he starts like a euthanasia procedure to just like fucking kill the
all
room.
these lasers just start fucking
that was cool. That was cool. I'm not gonna lie. That was deadly.
He has to be like, get him to talk to me, and then he's like, I have to ask you a serious request.
No, but that's what I want to talk about.
Are you willing to speak to my little pet thing?
But I like how they did that. I like how they did that in terms of like, when she said, you got to get him to talk to me, and then he went in all like intellectual, like super big word. I say big words,
but at the same time, it's like they're speaking the same language.
They're saying the same thing, but he's just like, oh, indulge me and no.
And then he's like, you want me to talk to that?
And then he comes in like, And then she's like, I got something better for you. What is better? And then they make a trade, but you don't find out what the trade is.
Yeah.
You don't find out what the trade is.
Oh man. What do you think the trade was? What did you think the trade was?
I didn't really know at that point. I didn't care enough to really guess.
Oh man, I thought she was
it's kind of a dumb joke.
I thought she was gonna trade the egg.
I thought it was gonna be something more serious. Anyway, continue.
So then they get the captain back. Everyone's free. She's getting like a medal and shit. And yeah, she saved the day. Woo! Little kid grew up, achieved, and it was a great like coming of age. So now her character's established. This is where she is. She's gonna learn, obviously.
And she's finally got the acceptance between
and everybody cheered. And you can even see it in Malloy's face. Here's to you, kid.
Good on you,
or some
kid.
shit like that, right?
Here's
and then
at you.
You did good, Anakin. I mean,
when they're like partying later, they're like, "So what did you trade?" And it just cuts back to the zoo.
And it's
no. Remember, world has changed over 100 years, and what she says is before they cut back to the zoo, she goes, "Oh, the robot guy has been showing me archives of history Malloy has been showing me archives of history of the world, and I found something that is the best thing in the world."
And it's Jersey Shore, right?
Yeah,
that's what they're watching.
I'm pretty sure
I don't think it's Jersey Shore.
It's the Jersey Shore, the Kardashian show.
No, I think it's the real life. No, it's not the
Kardashians.
It's not the Kardashians.
Maybe it's the real life.
But
maybe it's something that won't sue them.
It's one of these.
They named Kardashian. They named Dexter. They named The Bachelor. It's The Bachelor.
It might be The Bachelor.
But they named those names.
It's fine.
They're just like reality television.
They name a bunch of shows.
Fascinating.
And then you just see all the people because they ignored the real life human in the cage. They were ignoring it. They weren't really caring. This reality television, this over dramatized bullshit, just like us. Eating popcorn, staring at it, a large mass of people watching this shit, and then you just see him like the dollar signs in his head as he's scrolling through the long list of crap that we produced over this era. And then we cut to like, I don't know which happens or what order, but then Bortus's egg hatches, and then we find out
it's a girl,
which is impossible.
Yes, and that's how this episode ends, which is pretty cool place because we basically get what the next episode's going to be exploring.
It's a girl.
And so, yeah, keep in mind it's an all-male thing. How is this possible? Anyway, I don't know. This was a great episode to me. I really thought that it was better paced than the first one in a really, really smooth way, right?
Yeah, 4 on 5.
I would say it made me want to watch the next one.
I want to see the next one.
Well, because there's a cliffhanger, right?
But it's more than the cliffhanger. It showed me that they understand kind of like how to tell different kinds of stories while they just did it right.
Like, okay.
Like they didn't like disappoint. The quality got better than the first episode. The story kind of had the congruency, but still felt like another random Star Trek misadventure.
Where I'm at with the show at this point, like episode 2, is that yes, it was definitely more consistent than the first episode. Absolutely, like better paced. Better character development. There was still a couple of really cheesy moments.
Of course.
That kind of fell flat. It hasn't made it to like I'm gonna watch it if there's nothing else to watch type thing.
While I was watching
that's the thing. I felt like it was something for bed. Like you watch it for bed.
You can kind of like turn off your brain. You're gonna get the messages. You're gonna get the symbols.
I'm gonna have to like come in from a whole different perspective here, though, right? Because as I didn't say in this episode,
I don't know if we mentioned this, but Holden loves Star Trek.
So I've seen them all, more or less. Not the new crappy ones, but a lot of the little subtle jokes are really just hilarious if you've watched so much Star Trek. It's just the opposite of almost what most Star Trek people would do while having the same end results of a Star Trek episode. It's almost like the plot develops exactly like every good Star Trek episode is supposed to.
Like every other space show.
No. No. There is a difference between most space shows and Star Trek.
Do you think that Chris Pine is a worthy successor to William Shatner? Or
what is that? That's
I'm
painful,
just
man.
trolling you. I'm sorry.
Painful.
He hates the new Star Trek movies. I really
it.
like the new Star Trek movies, except the second one it sucked. But I mean,
all I'm trying to say is that this still pays the homage. A lot of the jokes almost feel like they're like almost Easter eggs for people who understand the Star Trek universe and the characters. Because like for me, it's like I'm seeing flashes of Voyager here and this one there, and it's all just kind of going over. So it takes my value and appreciation of the show to a level that the average person might not get.
Fair. So keep in mind on that note that it is still very much modeled after Star Trek and is no longer simply just a parody of Star Trek. It is another Star Trek show.
Yeah,
like it's not officially canon, whatever, but
it's kind of like Star Trek went normal people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and it's amazing. Anyway, I love this show so far.
It's like Law and Order, Everyday Joe.
I'm not really the most like comedies and stuff. I don't really laugh a lot, but this shit actually had me laughing out loud for how ridiculous it is in contrast to Star Trek. And that's what it is. Like, I'm watching Discovery at the same time, and Discovery's like hyper serious and dark, and this is like just fun.
It's good sci-fi genre fiction. It's not as deep into trying to make points as like Rick and Morty is, for example.
But I would disagree with that. I think it's doing it the way Star Trek makes points.
It's doing it the way Seth MacFarlane does.
It's doing it the way Seth MacFarlane makes
I don't
points.
know, man. Because the point
again,
is...
you've only
but
watched...
Maybe given the clear Trekkiness of Seth MacFarlane, he's always taken the Roddenberry approach.
He always has.
Therefore,
he always has. But it's not just like you'll get flashes of Star Wars. You'll get flashes of the Muppets. You'll get flashes of everything that Seth MacFarlane. But this one feels a little more linear. It's not just non sequiturs. Like there is a point to every, even the most random of jokes. This is going to end up feeling like I think it's one of the most interesting shows I've seen this year, for real. That's like a new show.
More to come.
All right, so that's like it is. I guess that's it for this one. Feel free to let us know what you think. We totally appreciate all y'all watching this. You guys are
let us know what you
best.
Think if you watched the show.
Feel free to subscribe and like.
Yeah, tell us some stuff. Did you like Jersey Shore?
Yeah, let us know how you feel about Rick and Morty. I mean, may as well go there.
If you don't like Rick and Morty,
did you actually get to try the Szechuan sauce? If you've tried the Szechuan sauce, holla. That's what I want to know.
Did you hurt someone to try the Szechuan sauce?
All right, okay. I think we're done.
We're out.
Peace.
Bye.